Hey guys. Wow, looks like Facebook did not get connected. So I'm not sure what's happening there, but we'll figure it out. Um,
They redid Riverside on us, so you may have to be patient with us for a minute or two while we get set up because Riverside kind of like threw a wrench in our little work over here. So
yeah. I mean,
we're doing our best.
the whole studio is new. It looks different. The layout is different, and I wasn't really prepared. Looks like we are connected to who are we connected to? For whatever reason, we didn't get connected to Facebook. Oh well, all right. Well, sorry, Facebook. Hopefully, Facebook finds their way over here because it's not working. But anyway, hi guys. Welcome to the TOWTalk podcast live stream. We are dealing with new technical difficulties, basically because the studio is a completely new look, and I didn't get notified this was happening. I just showed up and oh my god, all the settings are different. So we're getting adjusted to this as much as you are. Let me take a look and see what we look like online right now because that is like
Yeah, we don't seem
crazy.
to be popping up for some reason.
All
I don't know
right,
why.
let me see.
Something's not working.
Something's not working. Hey guys, if you're here, just bear with us as we.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Now I got it. Now we're
There
live.
we are.
All right, there we are. All
Yep,
righty.
there we are. Well, okay,
Hey
so
everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry about the everything that's going on. We're doing our best.
we're doing our best here.
We have a whole new thing tonight with what's going on. So
Yeah, I think I
we're
might
getting there.
play with some of the stuff. They've got some different things. Oh, we've got an overlay. Let's have some fun with that. What does that mean? Hey,
Oh Jesus.
we're live. Like and subscribe. What do you think of that? Oh, we could be really obnoxious and do that.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Please no.
No. There we go. We're live. Like and
Right, we're
subscribe.
live, everybody. How you doing tonight? Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Click the little bell to so you know when we're online and we're live and we post new videos. And make sure obviously just keep listening to us. We love having you. And remember, put your name in the chat. Say hi to us. Let us know who's listening tonight. And as always, if you'd like to participate, please ask any questions or, insert any comments that you may have so that we can answer them as best we can.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yeah. So Marty,
Marty, are you volunteering? Are you volunteering, Marty?
yeah,
Marty
really.
said we need an IT person, and I'm curious if Marty is volunteering to be our IT person.
Yeah, really.
You're hired. You're
Yeah,
hired.
yeah. God help us. No, Marty is not the guy for IT stuff. That's generally me. I get adjusted here. So this whole new
Wow,
look.
Marty just completely threw you under the bus there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. So as we adjust to this whole new look, I mean, we're so long. I guess I'll have to play with that later. There were some new settings when we went to connect to the studio, and there were some new options there. Probably should have looked at them, and probably could have set this so that it fits. But
Right.
anyway,
Would have been
it's
nice
really
for
cool.
them to tell us that it happened so that
Yeah.
we could log in a bit early and figure some stuff out.
I probably got an
going
email,
live.
but I didn't look. But
Ugh.
I was on here last night, because I'm
Yeah.
doing all my editing and stuff, and this wasn't like this. So okay, but anyway, so some interesting. Whoops, sorry guys. So interesting stuff, as you may have seen from my drop that I put yesterday, and my postings. We did get the $4 million rescue from the state. So yes. So if you were concerned about taxes going up for the town, and the possible layoffs of employees in the town, that's not going to happen. So good job for Frank Dendanto. And just could you kind of maybe give the audience here some information as to what that means with regard to how those funds are used and what that means going forward.
So this is a very unusual situation. Basically, this was this was evaluated by the state, okay, and had to be voted, right? So the rumor now being perpetuated by the other side, okay, which I'm really surprised that there is another political side to this, right? I mean, they the people who ran this town drove us into bankruptcy, right?
Mm.
Like so it's like basically the town supervisor Frank Danto had to put together. So we have a new supervisor this year, Frank Danto. Let me give some background for those who are new joining us tonight. We have a new supervisor, Frank Danto. He took office in January. He was the town supervisor probably like 6 years ago now, as well. Back 6 years ago, we recognized the trend, right, that the town was in trouble. Okay. That their budgeting wasn't correct, the finances weren't correct. We didn't have current numbers. I mean, it was a complete and utter wreck.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, the board members, right, led by one of the councilmen, um, who had two other voting members with them, decided to frame the supervisor, okay, and to get him out of office because whatever it is that they had going on, right, and whatever it is that they were doing, they wanted to continue. They didn't want
Yeah.
the books reconciled. Okay. That wasn't a thing for them. Okay. And it was never a priority. You can go back to the minutes of the meeting. There was a November meeting back in, I believe it was 2021. When just after the election, when Frank lost the election, or I think it would may have been right before the election, where we had an outside accounting firm come in and they did a risk assessment, and I proposed a measure to accept the recommendations of our outside accounting firm. Okay, and three board members voted me down and said no, we're not going to do that. Okay, so it was clear at that moment that they had no desire to fix the accounting problems that we had, and in fact they denied that there were any accounting problems. The new supervisor George Serrano took over, and he completely decided to say there are no accounting problems, we have no financial issues, nothing to see here, move along, right, and called me and Frank both liars, right, and then pointed to, right, the claims that were being made against Frank by the accountant for the town, right, like this is the accountant for the town, right, making these accusations against the sitting supervisor, right? And really, it came down to she wouldn't provide him the information that he was entitled to as the CFO of the town, and because he would recognize, right, we would both recognize that the information was not good. In fact, I had written a 100-page paper at the time. Oh, I lost Denise. Oh no, she's still there. And I had written 150-page report detailing how bad the finances actually were and with evidence. That report never went anywhere. It went to the attorneys, and that's pretty much it. Then they buried it. There was a lot of evidence of malfeasance on the current board. So you know, at that point in time, what did we have to do? Right? Like, we lost the election. I continued to try to fight for transparency. I continued to try to fight for information. And I was basically roadblocked at every turn. State comptroller's office came in. The auditor stole some money from the town, right? I mean, it was such a mess. There were so many holes in the town's controls, that they refused to plug, that we had no idea where money was going to. So it was pretty bad. And I ran a whole election on the malfeasance with the town finances. So, like, it surprises me that people even, like, to this day are like, we had no idea. Like, I told everybody, like, anybody who came to me, I said, this is what's going on. But the lies prevailed. But when you're talking about finances and you're talking about numbers, at some point in time, right, the truth catches up to you. And that's what happened. So Frank won the election this fall, after 4 years of George Serrano. And turns out town had no money left, used all its money. All right. Now, I've heard, talk of missing money. I've heard talk of where did the money go? Right. And the fact is it went to the operating budgets of the town, right? Um, when you do your budget, you've heard them say they were balanced budgets. They were not balanced budgets, right? Just go to the town website. I'm going to share with you my screen right now. You can go to the town website and you can see for yourself, right? So if you look for yourself, okay, you can see appropriated fund balance. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you so you can see, okay? All right. This line down here that says appropriated fund balance, $2.8 million right here. Okay. Appropriated fund balance, $2.8 million. That is spending your savings. Okay. Then we go to, right, and that's for this coming year. That was for this coming year. Okay. Now we go to the 2025 adopted budget, which was last year's budget, and you see again, right? $1.7 million right down here, right? So, and this goes back. This continues to go back. You go back to 2024, and it's the same thing, right? $1.4 million. Okay. You go back here, and we're talking $1.4 million. Okay, of fund balance being used. And then you go back even further, $1.7 million. So the fact is, right, you go back in time, when you appropriate fund balance and you're spending your savings, okay, how much can you spend of savings over the years before you run out of it? Think of your household budget. If you're taking in, right, $100, but you're spending $150, right, every month, right, you're running at a deficit. At some point in time, if you have savings, that savings will be empty. Okay. So this is what they were doing. They knew they had some savings. They didn't know how much savings they had. Okay. And they figured, okay, we'll just keep spending it because we have it. Right. And they kept asking, how much cash do we have? Well, in a municipality, you have a lot of cash, but a lot of it in the town of Wackel isn't yours. It's escrow money. And I've talked about this before. You can't spend that, even though they tried. Okay. So it was like a joke. It was like their budgets were an absolute joke, right? So, they went to the state and they were like, listen, we have a $3 million budget deficit, $4 million budget gap that we got to fill. Because remember, last year's budget, they didn't have enough money in last year's budget, right? Like they didn't budget enough last year. You would think not having enough money last year, they would turn around and say, well, we didn't have enough money last year. Maybe, we should we should budget to an actual balanced budget. But no, another year of budget deficits. Okay. Even larger than the year before. And I had pointed out that at some point in time, you're going to run out of money. And we ran out of money this year, right? Shocking, the year that George decides to bail and Eric Valentin decides to bail and, and all this other, they knew they were out of money. And they figured that they could blame the new supervisor. That's what it came down to. And I'm sorry, it's just it's so disingenuous. They didn't even tell anybody that they lost a bond rating, and they're going to sit there and say that there weren't financial issues, and they're still saying that there isn't financial issues. Right? Everything was fine when they were here because they hid it all. They buried it. So, it's the same nonsense that we continue to hear and the same type of gaslighting that we continue to hear from the same people. Okay. Now the $4 million, this is great. Scoofus, Paula K came in big, right? And they bailed the town, the taxpayers of this town out. Okay. And they really let, you know, George and the rest of the board members off the hook with their malfeasance. Okay. They really did in every way. Okay. You think about it, because the town is out of money. By come September, there would have been no money left. There wouldn't have been any money to pay anybody. What are you going to do with that? Right? And so this saves a lot of jobs. It saves like over 90 jobs with the town. Okay? So it was necessary. Basically, this is going to be rolled into the operating budget for this year to help them close out the year. And basically, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board and restructure their budget for next year. Okay. What that's going to look like, I don't know. Keep in mind, right? This budget has the town of Waco budget, the malfeasance here is in this budget. And if you look at it, you will see it exactly the way I see it. Okay. These budgets were based on not actual prior year's numbers, but they were based on last year's budget, which was based on the prior year budget, which was based on the prior year budget. Actual numbers never came into play here. So what they're going to have to do is
Sorry about
basically
that.
go back to the drawing board and revamp the entire budget. Welcome back, Denise. Didn't know what
Thank
happened
you.
to you. Right? And revamp the budget, which will be nice, because it needed to be done anyway. So we'll have to see what that entails, and how that actually works, in terms of you know how much he's going to have to raise in taxes to actually provide this town a balanced budget and continue the services to what this community demands, right? And that's the end of the story. Okay, right? There's no mythological game here that's being played, right? Now there are other things going on. There isn't a state audit. The state auditors are at town hall, okay, and they're continuing their work, right? We have a new team there that are continuing their work, right, from where they left off the last time. They had to wait, right? Once the theft was caught, right, by their auditor, okay, they had to stop everything at that point in time, okay, because once you've identified a crime, you can't touch anything else, because you don't want to taint any evidence. Okay, so they stopped everything. Now that the auditor has now pled guilty, now the state has come back in and are continuing their audit,
Right.
which is great. So you have an audit now ongoing. Hopefully we'll get some type of results, toward the end of the year, maybe closer to election time, who knows. And we'll be able to kind of see structurally, right, where, if there's any additional malfeasance, other than the fact that we were just dealing with morons that didn't understand, government budgeting and accounting.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. But this will go into the operating budget and should help the town bridge to next year, and hopefully, be able to provide the residents of this community a more balanced budget. But they did say the what was provided to the state. Remember, this was reviewed by the state comptroller's office. It was reviewed by the governor's office. It was reviewed by tons and tons of attorneys, right, from the state. Okay. It was reviewed by the assembly and the state senate. And all of them came to the conclusion, right, that the town was on the verge of bankruptcy. Okay.
Wow.
And this is what the government does, right? Like, I mean, the government, you know, listen, it's our job to elect good people and better people, okay, than what we've done. Okay. This isn't about Republican or Democrat. This is about electing people who actually have the ability to go in and solve problems.
Right.
Okay.
And who are
And
qualified to do it.
right. And Frank did a great job. Listen, what was the knock on what was the rumors? What was being told by Frank's opponent in the upcoming election? Oh, that he's not working. Okay. And we need a full-time supervisor to micromanage the employees. No, what we needed was we needed somebody to solve problems who's going to work to help this community. And that's what Frank did. Frank worked hard from the moment he got into office, right, to fix the town's books and records, which he is in the process of doing now. Okay. And he's and there's going to be news about that, by the way. I can't
Yes.
release the news on that. There is news on that though, right? Because there are rumors about the books, and believe it or not, right? You know, uh, they're in much better shape now than they were in terms of completion as to where they were.
So that's
But
good. So they're making
so that's
progress.
good.
That's
They're
important to
right. They're
know.
making progress. I can't
You
reveal.
can't
That's for
elaborate.
Frank,
Got it.
right? That's for Frank to do. But there's a lot of there's a lot of good coming out here, and you can see that he's working hard.
Yeah.
You know, so this idea that he's not working, he's not earning his salary, he's not.
Oh, please.
What? Who the fuck? He just went out and got 500 people at the state in the assembly and the Senate to vote to give this community $4 million because they didn't vote correctly, because they voted right with their heart instead of their brain. Okay. And they thought that community minded meant spending your money and not taxing you to provide those services, but just spending the town savings, right? This was like a kid with a savings account that decided to spend all your savings.
Yeah.
Okay. And he did it to spend on parties. And that was it. And then said, well, we're being community minded. You're not being community minded because everything was about you. And that was it. So,
Amazing.
you know, yeah, I think that this is pretty amazing. Congratulations to Frank. Thank you very much to Senator James Skoufis, to Assemblywoman Paula Kay. You guys did a fantastic job. We appreciate
Oh
you all you
yeah.
did for this community and the residents of this community. Um, you know, the bailout is, especially this time when so many people are in economic pain as a result
Yeah.
of the current federal administration. We want to thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this was good news. Um, does anybody have questions regarding this? I know I imagine you covered everything. I was busy dealing with
Well, you
with
weren't here. I had no
I
one to talk with.
know.
It was like
I
literally just me.
Yeah, I think that, I'll probably have to, like, reformat my computer.
Oh,
Working with this type of equipment, I do a lot of, editing of videos, and I think it just kind of really, really bogs the system down, and after a while, you end up with some corrupted files, and so I think I'm, gonna have to just reformat, make it nice and clean and shiny, and then we'll be good to go. Just one of those things, but no. Used to be, old Windows, you'd have to reformat like, a couple times a year just to clean all the garbage out. Now you shouldn't have to do that,
now you
but
just get a new computer. By the time that occurs, it's time to get a new computer anyway
yeah, no,
because
I'm not that
computers are
much of a
obsolete.
consumer. Yeah, I'm not that much of a consumer. I build my own and it's been running great for a year and a half now until I
I
started doing this.
what I try to do is I try to buy like like a top tier model, right? Because I find when you buy a top tier model, right, it's not obsolete in 3 years. So
Right.
you get more longevity, right, and more bang for your dollar if you spend a little bit more, right, to get a better computer up front than buying, right, what everybody considers to be, right, the most economical model today. And then what ends up happening is it's obsolete in 2 or 3 years, and you're like yelling at it because it's slow as fuck, and and it doesn't do anything that you want it to do, has no memory, and it becomes really, really tiresome.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that I have learned with Riverside, and with using this type of software, if you want to be a streamer, if anybody is thinking about, doing what we do here, podcasting or whatever, this type of software, whether you use Riverside or some of these other podcasting software. So what we do is we go to a web-based software called Riverside FM, and we connect to that, and then that connects to all of the different things that we stream to, such as YouTube in this case, which is our main platform. And yeah, and what I have found out is the minimum resources that you need at least an 8-core processor.
Oh,
Yeah, and that is exactly what my processor is. It's an 8 core. So obviously, probably would perform a little better on Intel, because Intel tends to have. I have an AMD. I went sort of gamer mode. Wasn't thinking of
yeah.
streaming at the time that I built this. Thought 8 cores would be enough. Probably wouldn't be having this problem if I had probably 12 cores. But unfortunately, that means new motherboard and new processor. I could probably get away with my memory and my video card and everything else, but I'd need to do a whole new motherboard and processor for that. So occasionally I'm going to have some issues. It's just
Right.
that's the resources that are being taken on. It's all those cores working at the same time. It's
So I want to comment. Knitter02 commented on something I had said. They were able to bury it because we don't have a local independent newspaper. That is very, very true, and that's why Denise and I started this podcast, was so that we can discuss local news, right, in a manner that everybody can participate in and understand, and hopefully we can explain things so it makes it simpler for everybody. you know
yes. Yeah, and I think, Neil, we have a I know you know, but maybe not a lot of other people know. We have a Substack, which Substack is usually used for. Now it's becoming more like a typical social media where you can do videos and post videos, but it's known primarily for writing stuff. So whether it's articles or whatever, so we should use that and write some things out and have you subscribe to our Substack. We don't have any fees for that; it's free. So you could just go to TOWTalk Podcast on Substack.
do people still read? Do
Do
people
people
still
still
read?
read? Yes, we should. We should read. We should need to read. But yeah, right. People don't seem to read anymore. Everything is just so video, or you're doom scrolling, and sometimes reading is fundamental. Somebody said that
Re-
once.
no, reading is fucking mental.
That too. that too. But yeah, we do have a Substack. It'd be great if you guys could go ahead and follow that. And of course, we have an X presence. We have a Twitch presence. We have other things, but it allows us to reach out to other people. TikTok as well. Um, and I understand they're trying to connect with TikTok so we can do live streaming directly to TikTok, which Riverside doesn't do at this time. But these are ways that we can get information out to you. We can post articles. Obviously, as we've mentioned here before in the past, if you've been following us, there have been issues with some suppression going on with pro-democracy creators, and it gets even more interesting because apparently the White House has lists of people they don't like. And what is this? We got a post here. Let me get this on here.
You can usually tell who still reads by how open-minded people are. And
Yeah.
Nancy said that. Thanks for joining, Nancy.
Thanks
Love
for
to see you
joining,
here.
Nancy. Hey,
Yeah.
Nancy.
Yeah, no, it's very true, very true.
Yeah.
I find that people who read and not read like the AI slop that's out there, but actually read news articles, real news articles, which are very hard, becoming harder and harder to find.
Yeah.
Tend to be a lot more open-minded and also tend to be a lot more educated on current events as
Yeah.
well.
And there's a lot of great books. I mean, usually just go for the banned book list. Those are the books you should be reading. Go find those banned books. um, so I got a few here. I mentioned one the other day. One you recommended was the Confessions of a
Economic Hitman. Confessions of
economic.
an Economic Hitman. Gotta love it.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a good book. It is a good book.
So
You
I've
know,
got so
I enjoyed that.
definitely make yourself well read as much as possible because we're really losing that right now. Eh,
Well, I think what it is it's more of losing our history,
Yes.
right? Like, I mean, we even with the $4 million, right? We constantly have to be vigilant in the idea of our government are made up of people like us, everyday people. Okay. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, right? You can't think like, I mean, these guys who we elect, they love to talk about their morality, right? Like how they are more moral than everybody else, right? But they're just your neighbors. They're the same pieces of shit, just like running around with a title. That's it. Like they haven't done anything. They're not anything special. Not only that, they're not experts in anything. As I said, a lot of them are attorneys, but most of them aren't experts in anything. Okay, and they may be experts in how to write laws, but that's it. They're taking the information from somebody else, and what we saw here in the town is that they kept electing people who didn't understand municipal budgets, who didn't understand how to run a municipality, okay? And all they cared about was throwing parties and saying it was for the community, okay? But they didn't understand that they were spending taxpayer money,
For
right?
entertainment.
For entertainment purposes. I mean, this was like, I understand it's pre-Trump, but just look at how much money they're spending on the UFC tournament, right? This is just on a smaller scale. You don't seem to realize you know, community day, right? They were spending 25, $30,000 a year on community day, right? Like, I mean, you know, everything costs money.
Yeah. And every dollar has to be accounted for, especially when you're
Correct.
dealing with a very, for a municipality, you have a much more limited budget to work with.
Not only that, every dollar has to be stretched further, and you still have to provide the services. You still have to provide your dial-a-bus. You still have to pave your roads. You still have to do your. Everybody wants their bulk pickup, as
Mhm.
we saw this year.
Yes.
People don't want cuts in services, but that's what you're going to get if you elect people who don't understand municipal finance. And
Or
right
just
now,
or just don't care.
or just don't care. And what do we have in the federal government right now? That's exactly what we have.
Oh, we've got
Okay.
corruption on a level never seen before.
I mean, it's literally just spending taxpayer money, and people are saying, well, we can't, I keep hearing when it comes to social services, hiring teachers or doing this, we have no money or we need to cut. Right? If you are so great at cutting, right? Come to town hall, right? And point to the employees that you feel should be cut. Right? Because your municipality are your employees. Those are the people doing the jobs every single day. Okay? And you may not like government, but government helps you get to your job every day. Okay? You think about it, you don't have government, you don't have roads.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have stoplights. Okay? It just becomes a free for all, right? And everybody's not driving on paved roads, you're driving on dirt roads. You're not even driving on roads anymore. They may
You're
not even
driving
be
up.
roads anymore
Yeah. Or
because
if you
you look at your private roads. How many of those are fucking maintained? How many of your driveways do people maintain? You
yeah,
know?
No, dirt roads, or you get that lovely, the oil and stone, fresh stone oil, not even blacktop. And then when you drive on it, the stone goes everywhere, and the tar's all over your car. Yeah.
Nancy pointed out bulk pickup this year before extra fees and costs was $125,000 of taxpayer money that needed to go to bulk pickup. Now consider this. I understand everybody loves bulk pickup, and you may be angry with me. Everybody in this community has contracted individually, right, with a garbage company that will take one bulk pickup item per month. All right. So you get 10 items. You bulk pickup allowed you to put out 10 items for a bulk pickup. Some people put out more because they didn't read the goddamn flyer, but it was 10 items was the max. Okay. Right. You get 12 bulk pickup items a year with your garbage service.
And you're already paying for it out of your pocket.
And you're already paying for it. Right. But you're refusing, but you would rather spend more money, right? Because you'd rather just be once a year, right? Rather than doing it, having to put one item out once a month. You'd rather just do a house cleaning and get them all out to the curb at the same time. Like, understand what you're paying your money for, right? You want value for your money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's interesting. So, bulk pickup was like a national incident here in the town with all the stuff that was going on. There was complaints about 10 items, 10 items. What are you talking about? 10 items is not good. That's it. You can't, we've got a whole pile of wood. I'm like, you could like bundle it together or put it in a box or something, and then that would count as one. But no, logic doesn't just goes through the window with these people. And I'm like, last year, and for with the prior administration, you had a maximum of 2 cubic yards. Well, what the hell's a cubic yard? It's 3 by 3 by 3. It's a freaking dishwasher. You put out, or maybe you're replacing your washer and dryer. That's your 2 yards, because a washer is 1 cubic yard, and the dryer is 1 cubic yard. Like it's the same kind of thing. You could easily get 2 cubic yards out of 10 items, depending on how it fits. It's just a different way of saying close to the same thing.
But last year, remember what happened, right? Was the fact that people put out more than what they were supposed to. And the government was like, because it was George and the boys, and they were like, sure, take, we'll take everything. Right. So then they expanded it, just made it open for anybody to do. Right. And then the added charges ended up costing us an extra like 10 grand more, 5 or 10 grand more or whatever. And, you
which
say,
they didn't budget for this year.
You may say, oh, in a town this size, but here's the thing. This has been going on in every budget line, right? For the last, 4 years? This is the way that they've been budgeting. Okay. So if you're now over budget on everything, and you budgeted a deficit, you budgeted to spend your savings. Next thing you know, you're spending even more money.
Yeah.
And not only that, they were spending ARPA money to plug some of those gaps. Now ARPA is American Rescue Plan money. The town got $2.7 million of American Rescue Plan money, right? So they knew that they didn't have enough money because they were using that to supplement their operating costs and for operating expenses. Okay. So
why balance a budget? We got loads of money.
Right. Like, so not only were so even after they were like, we spent our savings, we still have this American Rescue Plan money. Like they were utilizing that. Like, it's absolutely bonkers, because they didn't want to raise taxes. Like that was like their big thing. Like, oh, we're doing this great thing. We're throwing parties. We're not raising taxes. We have money in the bank. Everything's great until you don't have money in the bank anymore. Then the party's dead. And it just happened to be that a Democrat, Supervisor Frank Dendato got left holding, with no chair, right? Like he was the one. The music stopped, and all of a sudden, he was the one that said, we're out of money."
Yeah. Yeah, let me ask you this. If if the same administration or similar administration, people from the same group, if they had been elected, do you think they would have succeeded in procuring that $4 million, or would they
I don't
looked
think
at?
they would have gotten it.
You don't
I don't
think they
think they
would?
would have asked for it. I don't think they would have asked for it.
So what were they doing? How are they? What were they doing? Like,
I don't think they understood. I don't think they had the financial wherewithal to understand the depths of how much in trouble they actually were.
so they were just spending money like water, and just.
Yeah. And
But
they had no
then
idea. George found out, I think, in December that the town was out of money.
December of 2025, when he was outgoing.
Right.
Ah,
Like
we spent
literally
it
he's walking
all.
out the door and he was like, okay, we got no money left. Peace out, bitches. I'm gone. Not my problem anymore. Right. I mean, that was the guy. That was his whole shtick. There were no financial problems. We fixed everything. No money was stolen. No money was this. We did a great job. We had a balanced budget. Meanwhile, I showed you we did not have a balanced budget. Right? Like I put up the budgets on the screen when you were gone. I put up the budgets and I showed we did not have balanced budgets. This is the way they operated. Okay. And it was all smoke and mirrors and it was all just gaslighting. I think they would just spend the year gaslighting everybody. Right. And then come budget season, they would have to go above the cap, but they would be like, they would do some mumbo jumbo to lie to the public and try to blame me and Frank. Right? Like, I mean,
I
that would be their whole thing.
Yeah, there was always $11 million in fund balance. Yeah, really.
That's true. It's true. There was always like, no matter what time of year. Oh, we have $5 million in the bank. No matter what time of year, we had $5 million in the bank. You knew that was a lie. That was a lie right from the get-go, because the way you get all your money at the beginning of the year and then you spend it throughout the year. Okay.
And that's the budget you have to work off of.
And that's the budget you have to work off of. So, this was asked once in March when the town should have had $30 million in the bank, right? Because that's our budget, right? Like we had $30 million, right? And the response was $5 million. Go back, watch the videotape. You'll see. We have $5 million in the bank.
Speaking of,
it's just a lie. It's just a lie.
Well, I saw a something on I guess it was on your Facebook page. Somebody posted, it was like a little collection of videos talking about the finances. It had a scene from one of the I guess one of the meetings, internal meetings, that Frank
Yep.
was. So there's work sessions. So in
Yep.
addition to your town board meetings, and of course the spill the tea, are work sessions. And during Serrano's tenure, those work sessions were behind closed doors. Nobody knew what was
Yes.
going on. And during Frank's first, and I don't know if he's doing it now in his second term, but in his first term, he was were they live Zooms, or were they being recorded?
Wait, during Frank's first term?
Yeah.
They
Were
were
they
live Zooms.
They were
Yeah,
live
everything
Zooms.
everything was a live everything was a live Zoom. There was nothing. Everything was recorded, but everything was in a live Zoom. Right?
Okay, so
It was
as it was happened, just like this, they could see
right
it.
under George when George took office, they got rid of no. So the first 2 years that George was in office, they kept the work session Zoom, right, and they kept the main Zoom mainly because of me, because I refused to allow them to get rid of it. I was very adamant about that.
Right.
Right? Like, because I really was trying to, like at that point in time, it was just really frustrating. And I knew that if the camera wasn't on, that it would be a mess. That there would be no dealing with them at all. At least if the public was watching, where there was video of it, it would control them to some degree. But then once I was out of office, and Steve took my place, all of a sudden, Zoom, the Zoom during the work sessions went away. And then it became a free for all for them to do and say whatever the hell they wanted. This person, Harley guy, can I read what they
Yeah,
said?
yeah, go ahead. Here, I'll put it back up again. Here's his first,
Yeah. So what I find incredibly insane is that Serrano, Valentin, Johnson, and Coyne did nothing, in my opinion, to support infrastructure in the town. No real purchases made except a refurbished paver. No salt trucks, no plow trucks, no real training for the staff in the town. Not until 2025 did they address the staff. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, what I did is I pointed out, I would probably say, I want to say like 6-7 years ago, right? That what was happening is that the town was shrinking its highway budget, okay, and increasing the budget for the PD. Okay. Listen, not to say we don't need police, but you have to, in the town that's growing as fast as the town of Waco, you have to grow everything at the same rate. Right. So if you're shrinking your highway department, that means that you pave less roads. Right. And we have to remember, we got a C grade, right? We had Howard Mills, the former supervisor of the town of Waco, come in. They paid him a consulting fee and he gave us a grade for our roads. And he said that they were a C, right? They weren't a C. I can tell you this, they weren't a C, right? Like 20 years ago. Okay. We did a better job in paving roads, but these guys, they wanted the same roads paved over and over again. And yet,
well, their
you can't do
roads.
that. Right. Their roads. They wanted their roads paved, you know? So that's how they operated. And what I advocated for is I said we needed to spend more money in our highway department. At one point in time, when George first took office, right, it was brought to my attention that the only money that the town used for paving was CHIPS money. Okay. So for anybody who understands what CHIPS is, right, or doesn't understand what CHIPS is,
Well, just to explain it.
CHIPS
Yeah.
is money you get from the state for highway, right? For city and highway, right, projects. So you could use that money for road paving. You could use that money for infrastructure improvements. You could also use that money to buy trucks, right? And equipment. Um, it depends on what you apply for the CHIPS money for. In this town, what we used CHIPS money for was paving. But none of your tax dollars went to paving. The only thing that went to paving was CHIPS. That was it, right? So you're giving all this money to the town, and none of it was actually going to the highway department for paving.
And it's expected that a certain portion of your tax dollars should go to
Well,
paving.
my personal, listen, everybody has a different formula. My personal opinion was, right, if you receive $400,000 worth of CHIPS money, you should be putting $400,000 worth of your own money next to it, right, as a matching to make sure that the paving gets done, and so that you could pave as many roads as you can, right? That was what that's what, like, this was a general rule. I know I came up with the rule on my own, right? That's not a I just felt that that was a good rule of thumb, right? Especially in a
Makes
town this
sense.
size. Okay. But they didn't put any money towards that. Every additional dollar that they got, they put into the police department, you know? And again, it's not that we don't need police, and it's not that I'm anti-police. It's the fact that you have to grow your town. You have a lot of, like, if you're growing buildings in the town, if you're building more buildings, you need more people in your building department to inspect.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? You might need more people in your accounting department to process bills. You might need, right? Like, all these things are necessary, okay, to keep your town running as it grows, right? You have to grow your infrastructure at the same rate. And they weren't doing that. They didn't give a shit, right? They cared about one thing. If they can go to the public and say, look, we added another police officer, we added another police officer, we added another police officer, that was tangible. The public, ate it up, right? And, like, I mean, think about it, right? You say we added another police officer. right, you might be more apt to vote for that person than saying, hey, we added another highway guy.
Yeah, well,
Right?
that's really what it is, exactly. And
You
just think
know,
about it. Think about this. I think you said it. You did say it that we have more police than is it the town of Newburgh or the city of Newburgh?
town of Newburgh. We have more police officers in the town of Newburgh. All right, the town of Wacol. And we were rated within the top 10 safest towns in all of New York State.
Is it because we have all those police, or it's because we were already safe to begin with?
We have a safe community here. It
Yeah,
really is a safe. It's a safe community here. We have a really safe community here. It's a very good community. And listen, Joe DiStefano does a great job. Chief Hertman has done a great job. You know, and we do an excellent job, right, of patrolling and policing. But you have to keep in mind, right, policing responds to crime. So if we are one of the safest communities, that means that we're not responding, right? Like that means that there isn't crime happening, right?
right,
Because your statistics are based on the crime occurring and your police officers are responding to crime. So having more police, right? It's been shown more police officers is not a deterrent to crime. That's the one thing, that's the one statistic that proves out to this day. You can have a police officer on every police corner. It's not going to stop crime.
right.
Crime occur and crime is usually a function of economics. So I
Yeah,
mean, that the further you sink into recession or recessive, economic or quantitative data, whatever you want to call it, um, the more likely you're going to have an increase in crime.
that makes sense.
It listen,
I feel
this
like we're
is
going to be
just these
living
are
that
numbers.
test very soon.
This is me being wonky, right? Like we have to talk facts. We can't be making shit up and talking with our heart and say, oh, like I believe. No, this isn't. We This is how we get into trouble. When we start saying we believe, that isn't a fact. You believe your belief system is not fact. Right? My belief system is not fact.
we have we have a but here, but I feel like there's a follow up coming from Harley Guy over here.
Right. I think the video is a little behind us, but so we'll hear his comment in a second.
No,
But
but he yeah,
I
that's
know.
true. That's yeah, that's
I feel that you know I don't know what to say. I mean, the fact is this town has been mismanaged for a long, long time. Okay, and um, it's nice to see that we're finally getting on the right track.
yeah,
And those people that were obstacles towards moving this town in the right direction are now gone. Thank God.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
they were real. I mean, no, listen, they were real cancers on this town, right? Cancers on town hall, cancers on the town in general, right? Listen, you may have had a good interaction with them, and you may have enjoyed the party that they threw, right? But at the end of the day, right, they left behind a wake of devastation. Not only by leaving the town bankrupt and without a bond rating, but just on the number of employees that left too. I mean, you're 28 employees, right? All that institutional knowledge is gone out the door, left, right? They didn't retire. Some of them did, but most of them didn't retire, right? They left for different jobs, okay? Which is unheard of in civil service. I mean, you think of the benefits that they left on the table. They left longevity on the table. They left maybe a permanent healthcare benefit, lifetime healthcare benefit, which,
yeah,
right, I think I've told you before, that's like 40 something $1,000 a year,
yeah, yeah. You were talking
right?
about that last week.
So, I mean, people left, right, good benefits because they couldn't take being in that environment anymore. Okay? And everything that you heard and that they told you was just a lie. Just a absolute lie. And the people going out there and telling you those lies have all been bought off. have all received something, right, from them, from the town, okay, while they were in charge, right? That now they feel beholden.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a payoff. It's a bribe. It's not,
Yeah.
and it's not integrity.
Yes, he was. And that's what I was talking about with that video
Oh
clip that I
yeah,
saw.
but that's because George was so toxic. That was
Yes.
the but. Exactly what I said.
Yeah, yes. We can
Thank you.
agree. We agree 100%.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
confirming that, Harley guy.
But I was saying that video, if you watch it, is it on your friends of Nehemiah, or was that in the town of Wallkill United?
Which one?
The clip that shows it opens with Frank was at a work session.
Oh, it's probably on Town of Walkill United.
Yeah, and it starts there, and he's talking about the responsibility for the bookkeeping and why
Yeah.
this was during the first term where he was wanting to get the finances, and nobody was giving the finances to him or to you at that time. You were there, you're in the room, you're wearing a mask. And then it cuts and it goes to a series of clips of George and saying over and over, nothing to see here. No, we don't.
Right.
Nothing wrong with the finances. Nothing, 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 nothing. And then, of course, we know that wasn't the case.
Right.
So, yeah, you
And
really.
again,
Oh,
you can hear the rhetoric that they say. Oh, there were no problems for 4 years, and all of a sudden, right? You're burning through savings. People are giving you warnings. You're burning through savings.
and you're not
Okay.
doing anything about it.
And they're not doing anything about it. At some point, that runs out, and it ran out. That's what happened. The money ran out. The gravy train left the station. Okay. There is nothing further. Like there are investigations going on. I'm not going to say that there aren't things, but that's your basic right there. Just look at the damn budget. You can see for yourself. It's not like you need me to fucking tell you, right? But people don't want to look at the budget. They don't understand the budget. They don't know what they're looking for. I hope that I showed you what you're looking for. That appropriated fund balance line is your savings that you're spending. Okay? That means that you have an unbalanced budget. You're spending your cash and you don't have that much of it to spend because
Oh,
fund
man.
balance is not cash.
Wow. So here we are. Wow, this we're getting near the end here, but so
No,
this
we didn't
is
get to any of our other topics.
that yeah, I know, but you know what? This is such an important thing, and it's a reminder of how important it is to really be engaged with who's running and who's running your town, who's running for town, what their experience is, what their background is. It really does matter, and it's when you talk to just today, I went to a client's house and I was grooming her dog. She lives in the town. She lives here, and I was talking to her about this, and she had no idea that any of this was going on. When I told her about the $4 million, the first thing she said was, "I'm in shock that we needed a $4 million bailout." This is a long-term resident of the community, and she's worked within the community. She didn't even like go out to the city to work. She worked locally. She's retired now, and had no idea.
You have a lot of gaslighting going on, right? By the other side, the other party in town. Okay, so it's just all lies. Okay, you can't, and to be honest with you, you really shouldn't be trusting them now. That's the big thing, right? Like now that it's been confirmed, right? Like 500 assemblymen and state senators have all confirmed that they are liars. Okay, and how to bail out the town of Waka, how to bail your ass out, right? Right? You now know that they're liars. If you continue to believe them and you continue to vote for them, okay, then shame on you, right? Because now you know. I ran a whole campaign on this exact topic, okay? On exactly this, right? And someone walked up to me yesterday at the press conference, no lie, and said, "Wow, who would have known?" And I looked at him, I was like, dude, walk away. Walk away right now. Like seriously, walk the fuck away from me right now.
Who knew?
Okay. I was like, I ran a whole fucking campaign. I knocked on every fucking door at every meeting, and you knew because you were here for those meetings, for some of those meetings. You knew what was going on, right? To say you didn't know means you buried your head in the fucking sand. Okay.
Wow.
Right? And like we can no longer afford to do that. Don't you realize what's going on? Your money
No,
is
they
being
don't.
drained from you. They are taking all your money from you.
And not giving you what you thought you were paying for in return.
They're cutting services. We just heard Mike Johnson say today that the plan for next year is to cut the entitlement programs. Okay? Cut Social Security and Medicare. Okay? To pay for the war, to pay for the ballroom, to pay for the arch,
ICE.
to pay for ICE, to pay for everything that isn't
they
services, right? So government wants to get rid of services. That's going to put more strain. The less grant money that your state gets, the less grant money that your local municipality gets, means less roads are going to be paved, and the more you're going to be taxed by your local government. You no longer have the luxury, right, of sitting back and being uninformed. You have to pay attention, because you elect bad people, you are going to get bad results. Garbage in, garbage out. We say that in business all the time. Garbage in, garbage out. Well, you know what? 4 years ago and 2 years ago, you elected garbage, and you got garbage because the town is bankrupt now. Okay?
Yeah. So we are at we've been at this for an hour. I apologize for my strange disconnect. Hopefully I'll get that fixed by next week. And but we're gonna wind up here. But first of all, before we go, do you guys have any questions or comments? Anything that we can answer for you?
We went over a lot, and I know that there were a lot of questions online. We're here to answer them now, so please feel free to, throw them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I'd love to be able to answer any questions you have. I'm trying my best to lay this out as simply as possible. So I really hope that I'm doing a good job in doing so. If not, you got to let me know, and whatever questions you have, I'm more than willing to answer.
Yeah, we'll give a few seconds because I know there's a little bit of a delay. That let me see.
And remember, I am not part of this government either. So keep that in mind. I am not part of this government either, right? This is all over the 8 years that I was a councilman for this town. Nothing's changed. So I'm just giving you the information from my 8 years of experience with the town.
And it's still the same problem. So it just gives you an idea of how far back the problems go.
They were there when I got there. That's what I'm going to tell you. And that was part of the problem is you don't know when you get somewhere, right, what the problems are. And by the time you see them, you've been there now, 2 or 3 years. Okay. And so it become now all of a sudden you find yourself in that uncomfortable position of, well, I've been here for 2 to 3 years, right? Do I start asking for information that I am supposed to have, okay, but they haven't been giving me, right? And so you try to be nice about it, but then, they brush it off and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, not a big deal, whatever. And then all of a sudden you're kind of like, something seems up, something seems fishy, okay? And now we know. Okay, hold on, Harley Gaia, keep up the good fight you are doing. Give the town people the smelling salt that they need.
It's a great smelling sauce. That's a good one. Waking
Will
them up.
do.
Waking them up. All right then.
And
Uh,
anybody, if there's nobody else, I think we'll call it a
we'll call it here.
we'll call it here.
As always, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that. And recheck, because some people have been getting mysteriously unsubscribed from the people that they subscribe to when it comes to pro democracy stuff. So just kind of make sure to recheck every now and then. Like and share with your friends. Okay. Also, start subscribing to the Daily Gripe on we're on Facebook and on YouTube. I have some content. I've already put a couple of things there. I'm also collaborating with stuff here on TOWTalk. We're going to sort of shift a lot of our more national talk to that channel, just so that we can be more focused here on town issues and local issues and things that affect small towns, not just in our community, but elsewhere, but still more municipal type stuff. All right. And I think that's it, guys. Be well, be safe. We love you guys, and we
Peace
will see you
out.
soon.